Hi everyone. This is chapter 3. This chapter is fairly abstract, and this is probably your first chapter that you will be dealing with. And some of the things that we're going to talk about when it comes to objects with it. So please take the time and read chapter 3 carefully. What I recommend you to do is just read it about read about two, three. It takes me about 3 times reading something technical to absorb the material with it. So this is fairly a very abstract chapter. I highly recommend you to start to read this material, and this is your first opportunity to be exposed with what's called object-oriented programming, talking about classes and objects with this as well. So as we come through this, there's about 55 slides in here. So let me walk you through what I'm about to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about classes, or the definition of classes. I want to talk to you more about passing arguments. And I'm not going to stand here and read some of this to you as we go along with this thing, but I want to bring up some things that are key things that you need to know and understand how things how it's very important for you to know. And of course, all what you're concerned about is just tell me what you need to know for your exam, right? So I basically want to walk you through this, and please make a note of a lot of this stuff that you will be asked again with it. By no means these notes will not be in place of reading the book. That's the wrong thing to do. You still need to read the book with it. So these are just short clip notes of the stuff with it as well. Alright, let's come down here. So take a look at some of these topics that we're going to talk about, and I'm going to do some of these problems with you afterward with it as well. So First of all, if you're following along with the 5th edition book, Tony Gaddis' book with this thing, you do need, I'm going to go page by page with you if you're following along with the book with it as well. So on page 129, it starts out with a definition of what is a class, a concept with it, and I need for you to understand that definition of a class. So here, in an object-oriented programming language like Java, you create a program that are made of objects. So that's a very profound statement with it. So let me explain on page 129 on 3.1 classes with it. A class is a blueprint of an object. This is what you're writing is actually, it's the blueprint, and when you instantiate the piece of data, it comes out to be an object with it as well. It specifies the attribute and method that the particular type of object it has. From the class, one or more object may be created. I need for you to know that definition. Alright, that is a test question on page 129. So think of software. This is another test question. In software, an object has two capabilities. An object can store data, and an object can perform operation. So you will be, these two you need to know. This is a test question, these couple of these bullets here. So what does it mean when you're dealing with what's called a blueprint? Well, think of it as a cookie cutter. Everybody's familiar with some sort of cookie cutter with it. So if you have a cookie cutter, you roll a piece of dough, flatten out a piece of dough, and then you punch it out, whether it's the shape of a Christmas tree, the shape of a star, shape of a circle. That cookie cutter is the blueprint, is the equivalent to the template. The dough, you can think of it as object or data, okay, that you're instantiating what's called an object with it. Third bullet is the data stores in an object are commonly called attributes or field. So what's being stored in the object is what's called an attribute or field, and when it says or, it's synonym with it as well. So I need for you to understand that when an object is created, the attribute associated to that object is called the instance of that field. That is a test question with it. So please make a note that you will be asked with it. So these attributes it's an instance of that field is what you are when an object is created. The operation that an object can perform is called a method with it. Again, what is the class responsibility include with the object and what it's actually can perform with it? Well, again, an object can store data and also can perform the operation with it. So take a look at our string object. This goes back in chapter, I believe in chapter 2. we talked about some of the stuff that you use the string data types with it, a primitive data type that can only be stored in the data, and it has no further built-in capabilities with it. An object can store data and perform operation on that data. In addition to storing strings with it, you can think of it as a way how the strings, if you recall, the strings can actually be manipulated, and you can actually concatenate them with it. Okay, so these are the type of stuff that you can actually move through a string and use the string library file, and it becomes an object with it as well. Okay, so again, you're going to see a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about in action in a few minutes here with it. Let me move down here. Here's the string object. If you recall, from chapter 2, we learned that the reference variable containing an address with this thing. So city name variable reference a string object. Here is the string out, which is a hexadecimal address, is what it is. And the string object stores in the word Charleston, for example. So Charleston now, the address that you have here is city name, all right? Because we as human, that's the name that we can actually relate to. Right? It holds the address of this, and city names now has the characteristics that all the methods that the string object can behave as. So I can look at this and I can do char at 0. It would be uppercase C. If I did char at 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, char at 4 would be letter L. Remember now, if I asked you for the position or the element, you're going to be counting with 0. Remember that in 1436? Or if I ask you to count the length for this thing or size, you can be starting with number 1. So if I ask you what's the length for Charleston, you're going to start counting with 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So there's a length of 10 there. So you can do length method. Let's say if I did city name dot length in parentheses, left and right parentheses, I would get the length for this Charleston is 10. That's what will be returned. So string objects, that's what we talked about in chapter 2 with it. Just a few things I really want to talk about, some of the methods that you can actually work on with this thing. So methods that can operate on an object field are called what? They're instance of your method, right? So make sure you understand how that instance of that method, what's the definition of that method that actually operates on the objects of the field is called with as well. Alright, coming down here, take a look at your strings object. Again, I kind of gave it kind of a little heads up with it. So if I said I assign, now city name is your library, is your string object with it, and here's the length method. So whatever the length is, it's going to contain, Charleston has 10 characters, so it should be 10 is going to assign to string length, which is an int. Okay, primitive cannot have method that can be run, whereas objects can. Okay, primitives cannot have methods, whereas where that can be run as an object with it. Alright, in your book, I think on page 131, it talks to you about what is a blueprint of this house with it. So, kind of give you a description of what a blueprint of a house. Everybody knows what a blueprint of a house is, right? So, let's say you have these classes that are building these homes, for example. But this can be made out of brick, this can be made out of sidings, and this can be made out of, I don't know, wood. Alright, so you have 3 types of material, but the blueprint of the house looks the same. Even the inside of the house looks the same. The blueprint is not the program. The object that you are instantiating here is the actual object that stores the fields, that stores has the methods in there. Okay, but if you want to access that, you got to use the dot syntax with it. All right, so that's what this is about. This is what the slide is about with it. I know it's fairly abstract with this thing. So here's what I would like for you to know. If you look at, make sure you understand that methods can operate on another object fields are called what? Their instance method with it as well. Let me come down here. So here's another one. Here's another one that talks about a string named Jenny, string object named Fido. They're all string objects with it. All right, but favorite color now stores in that has blue. It stores in Fido. So pet variable is storing the string object with this thing. So this is what it's talking about. It's kind of similar to the string class. It contains different data. Instance of all sharing the same design with this thing. Let me pause this.